प्रपद्ये यथा प्रवृत्ति प्रसृता पुराणी न रूपम् अस्येह ततोपलभ्यते नान्तो न चादे न च सम्प्रतिष्ठा अश्वत्थमेनं सुविरूढमूलम् असङ्गशस्त्रेण दृढेन चित्वा तथा पदं तत्परिमार्गितव्यं यस्मिन् गता न निवर्तन्ति भूया तमेव चाद्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यथा प्रवृत्ति प्रसृता पुराणी. One more time. न रूपम् अस्येह ततोपलभ्यते नान्तो न चादे न च सम्प्रतिष्ठा अश्वत्थमेनं सुविरूढमूलम् असङ्गशस्त्रेण दृढेन चित्वा तथा पदं तत्परिमार्गितव्यम् यस्मिन् गता न निवर्तन्ति भूया तमेव चाद्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यथा प्रवृत्ति प्रसृता पुराणी. Word to word. No, not rupam, the form, asya, of this tree, here in this world, tata, also, upalabhyate, can be perceived. No, never, adi, no, never cha, also adi, beginning, no, never cha, also, sampratishta, the foundation, asvedam, banyan tree, enam, this, suvirudha, strongly, moolam, rooted, asanga sastrena, by the weapon of detachment. Drudena, strong, chitva, cutting, tata, thereafter, padam, situation, tat, that, parimargitavyam, has to be searched out, yasmin, where, gata, going, na, never, nivartanti, they come back, bhuya, again, come to him, eva, certainly, cha, also, adhyam, original, purusham, the personality of Godhead, prapadde, surrender, yata, from whom, pravrutti, the beginning, prasruta, extended, purani, very old. Translation by Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami. Shubhopad ki jai. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down the strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns. And they surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. Please repeat. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down the strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns. And though there, surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. Purport by Prabhupada. It is now stated that the real form of this banyan tree cannot be understood in this material world. Since the root is upwards, extension of the real tree is at the other end. While when entangled with the material expansions of the tree, one cannot see how far the tree extends, nor can one see the beginning of this tree. Yet, one has to find out the cause. I am the son of my mother. My father is the son of such and such a person, etc. By searching in this way, one comes to Brahma, who is generated by the Garbhodakasaya Vishnu. Finally, in this way, when one reaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is the end of research work, one has to search out that the origin of this tree, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through the association of persons who are in knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then, by understanding one, from this false reflection of reality, and by knowledge, one can cut off the connection and actually become situated in the real tree. The word asanga is very important in this connection because the attachment for sense enjoyment and lording it over the material nature is very strong. Therefore, one must learn detachment by discussion of spiritual science based on authoritative scriptures And one must hear from persons who are actually in knowledge. As a result of such discussion in the association of devotees, one comes to Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then the first thing one must do is surrender to Him. The description of that place where, having gone, one never returns to this false reflected tree is given here. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the original root from whom everything is connected. To gain the favor of that Personality of Godhead, one has only to surrender. And this is the result of performing devotion service by hearing, chanting, etc. It is the cause of the extension of the material world. This has already been explained by the Lord Himself. Aham sarvasya prabho, matta sarvam pravartiti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samvita. I am the origin of everything. Therefore, to get out of the entanglement of the strong banyan tree of the material life, one must surrender to Krishna. As soon as one surrenders unto Krishna, one becomes detached automatically from this material extension. So we'll try to understand this verse. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Gnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Krupatamaham Vande Sri Gurum Denatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Iswaram Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Krupa Sindhubhya Vacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Chaitanya Manavishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Tadati Swapadantikam. Shri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Thank you all for joining. So here we'll try to understand the connection why this chapter has begun, and some glories of this chapter and the sections of this chapter, the connection to the next chapters. And then we'll try to understand this, what is the meaning of Aswatha Vriksha and its significance throughout the scriptures. And then we'll try to understand a little more detail about this verse. So first, this chapter 15 is a part of the last 6 chapters, mainly talking about Jnana, mainly talking about the detachment aspect. The first 6 chapters talking about karma, gradually coming from karma to performing at least karma based on the scriptures. Then gradually transforming that into nishkama karma. So that is the first 6 chapters main purpose. Then gradually the middle 6 chapters is talking about the process of bhakti, how to transform from that nishkama karma to gradually actually come to the serving the Supreme Lord, how to engage in, starting with understanding the Sambandha Abhideya, practicing it. Sambandha has been discussed, but Abhideya has been Sambandha, Abhideya, then Prayojana. So and then the last 6 chapters, we understood the positive aspects of engaging and developing attachment to Krishna. But then we have so many things going on, we are not able to do anything purely. Then that means we have to cut down unwanted things in the heart. Internal detachment has to happen. So that's why the last 6 chapters, especially the 3 modes of material, understanding what is this material nature, especially the relation to Jiva, to Prakriti, relation to and what this Prakriti is composed of, and why Jiva is here in this first place in this material world, and how you can get back to the original place. That is the main last 6 chapters aspect. The Jnana is to develop detachment, internal detachment. So that's why this 15th chapter, Lord Krishna is speaking. Why is he speaking? Because in the 14th chapter, if you look at in the 26th and 27th verse, Lord Krishna is speaking, Mamchayo Abhyabhicharena Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sagunan Samatityetan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. So Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate means attaining the Brahman, realizing the Brahman, or original state. Brahma Janati iti Brahmana. Not theoretically, but practically realizing it. Before that, because Arjuna is asking these questions, I don't know how many, remember. So as we are sequentially learning each and every verse, we are already in 15 chapters. So very quickly. The second chapter, similar questions asked by Arjuna, as in 14 chapter, 3 questions. In the 14 chapter, Arjuna is asking 22 to 24. 21 to 24, and then Lord Krishna started explaining, I think 21 onwards, asking the questions. What are the symptoms of a person known to be beyond gunas, Kairlinga, and what is his conduct, Kim Acharati, and then how does he surpass the gunas? These are 3 questions. First 2 questions are similar to the second chapter, 54th verse, Sthita Prajna, how does he act? How does he walk? So same questions he's asking. But the third question is, how does he surpass actually? How one can transcend these modes? So that's when Krishna starts speaking this verse. Mamchayo abhyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevote. By engaging in devotion service, you can transcend these modes. And then, the Arjuna may have questions. So what questions? The following questions may arise from those. One is, first of all, he's talking about that Brahman. So the 26 basically he says, who serves only me in Syamasundara form by Bhakti Yoga is qualified for realizing the Brahman or becoming Brahman. So from that, that is the first aspect, how the one can attain to that position, Brahman, is being explained. That is the first connection. And further, there are underlying 6 questions, or many questions it actually arises from the 13th chapter itself. Connection is the kshetra, the field, the tree of this material world, the place where the nourishment, or piety and impiety, the field where we conduct the activities using this body. So that's another connection why the tree is used, Rasya Vruksha metaphor is used. But more than that, there are 6 questions asked by Arjuna indirectly from the verse number 26. First question is, what is the nature of the material world made of gunas? Arjuna is asking, and Lord Krishna, knowing his mind, is answering 15th chapter without Arjuna asking any question. Second question is asking is, where does it come from? Where does this gunas come from? Where did it begin? This material began. And the third question is, who are the jivas transcended by bhakti, surpassing ocean of this material world by devotion? And how one can surpass this ocean of this material world, or tree of this material, or ocean of this material world? And the fourth one is, what is the meaning of Brahman? So you are talking about Brahman. So what is the meaning of that? And then fifth one is, who are you as Pratishta Brahman? You are saying Brahmanoham Pratishtaham. So who are you, or that Pratishta Brahman? Who are you exactly? Those are the fifth question. And then Prabhupada also mentions what is the role of the Vedas? You didn't talk about till now the Vedas. So what is the role? So, and there are many questions arises from this 26th and 27th verse. So in response to those, then Lord Krishna speaks this 15th chapter. So that's why that is that's why this section has been taught. Directly Krishna is speaking. Now let's look at the sections of this chapter. 1 to 5 is becoming detached from the material world. So that's what is the main topic. Today's verse is in the section 1. Section 2 is 6 to 11 is transmigration, how one can transmigrate. And then verse number 12 to 15, Lord Krishna is a maintainer. That is the third section. And the fourth section, and fifth section, there are 4 sections in one way, different ways. So the fourth section is 16 to 20, Summary of Vedanta Sutra. In another way to look at it is 16 to 18 is Summary of Vedanta Sutra, Lord Krishna is Purushottam. And 19 to 20 is knowing Purushottam is known to everything. Or another way to look at it, 16 to 18 is Sambandha Gnam, and 19 is Abhideya, and 20 is Prayojan. Sambandha means relationship between the Jiva and the Isvara, soul and super soul, and then practicing on that aspect. That's why the 18th verse, Sa Sarvavid Bhajati Mam Sarva Bhavena Bharata. So 19 is Abhideya, and then 20th is Prayojana, attaining that supreme. Krityascha Bharata, you will see in the 20th verse, attaining that perfection, attaining Krishna Prema. And so this is the another way is also look at in the 16 to 18 is 3-sloki Bhagavad Gita, just like there is Chatusloki Bhagavatam in canto number 2, chapter number 9, I think verse number 31 to 34, I think 33, 30 to 33 or 31 to 30, few verses here and there. So those are the 4 slokas, same way, just like Arjuna also, Lord Krishna speaks in Bhagavad Gita also in 10th chapter, Opulence of the Absolute. There are 4 verses. So seed verses, Chatusloki Bhagavad Gita, but there is also shorter version of that, 3-sloki Bhagavad Gita. And basically, Lord Krishna is speaking Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, 16, 17, and 18. So this is called also 3-sloki Bhagavad Gita. This is how this chapter is laid out. And it has connection to chapter 16 also, because chapter 15 very briefly talked about the fruits, but in great detail it didn't talk about. That's why there is a chapter 16, Lord Krishna again speaks about this, the fruits, divine and demoniac natures. So fruits of the tree, which are the 2 varieties of causes of liberation, causes of bondage. So that's where the continuation, this goes on to chapter 16 further. Now in this way, so this chapter is laid out. Now let's understand about this section, especially why Aswadha Vriksha is. What is Aswadha means? So Aswadha means there are different understandings our acharyas give. Prabhupada gives Aswadha means A means not, Swatha, Swa means tomorrow, Tha means remain. Therefore, it means that that which is bound to perish, which is not going to remain. So for devotees, material world will not remain, but they can go to the spiritual world. For non-devotees, everything will be taken away at the time of passing away from this body, death. So that is one meaning. Other way of meaning is Aswa is horse, Sta to stay or to remain or to stand. So stand like horse. What does it mean? Tripada Vibhuti is the spiritual world. Horse stands on 3 legs. One is always in the air. So that 3 legs or Tripada Vibhuti is permanent. The one which is hanging in the air, that is temporary. That is the material world. So in this way, acharyas explain this Aswadha metaphor. Aswadha also is used because even just like the senses is the one which are agitated constantly. Aneka chitta vibranta moha jala samavruta. As in the 16th or 17th chapter, we see that verse. Network of illusion, the senses are being agitated. So when we are sleeping, senses are there, but at the time it is not, a subtle body is enjoying. So that means covered at the time. But the actual the enemies, the 6 enemies, lust, anger, greed, envy, so pride, all these there enemies in the heart, which are still there, is not taken out. That means it is covered up. Our original consciousness is covered like a tree. So there are 5 kinds of consciousness. First one is the tree consciousness, which is mentioned as achetana chitta, avrutta chitta, avrutta chetana. That means covered consciousness. That's why another way why this Aswadha Vriksha, the tree, and also another way is because this banyan tree is almost, it lives so long, and it has so many roots, deep rooted trees. And this is branch, this is the family of figs. This is the family of pigs, Aswadha Vrikshana. So as Krishna is speaking in Bhagavad Gita, I am the Aswadha Vriksha, the holy banyan tree. In Nectar Devotion, Rupa Goswami is giving in chapter 6, out of 64 items of execution of devotion service, what one should do. Bhakti means, what bhakti means, what to do. 64 items. Out of that, the first 10 items, in that the taking shelter of spiritual master, surrendering and following, all those. The 10th item is giving is worshipping the holy tree, such as banyan tree. So banyan tree is very worshipful, and you will see that banyan tree is so many connections. Where Lord Krishna spoke, even now it is there. in Kurukshetra near Delhi. We have a big temple now, Kurukshetra. There is a tree, Banyan tree, which is now also it is there. There Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. So, and there is Lord Jagannath temple within itself, there is a big banyan tree, 500 years or so old, still living. That is also there. And when Lord Krishna left the planet, there that time also he was sitting on the underneath the banyan tree, putting his leg up. So then the Jara hunter released the arrow. So that also happened on banyan tree. And we'll see in Srimad Bhagavatam, all these are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. And Markandeya Rishi, when is shown by Lord, showed some mercy to how he wants to see the pralaya annihilation. Then he showed it. At that time, Lord Krishna was lying down on this leaf of the banyan tree, Vatapatra Sai. There is a temple in Madurai, Vatapatra Sai temple, worshipped by one of the Alvars, South Indian Alvars from Ramanuja Sampradaya. Vatapatra Sai. In this way, so the banyan tree is very, very holy. And even Lord Shiva, there is a description in the Canto 4, a beautiful description of Kailash. This is in the material world Kailash, but there is also spiritual world Kailash also. So Sadashiva, so there also Kailash. But this is material world description of Kailash. There Lord Shiva is sitting under banyan tree. But that banyan tree, no bird, nothing. Everything, no bird, nothing was there on that banyan tree. But other descriptions we see in where Lord Krishna also, there's Badrika one, the description of cohort boys playing with Lord Krishna, jumping each other and then doing different games. That also they sat down under this banyan tree. So different beautiful descriptions Sanatana Goswami is giving, quoting from different scriptures. There are also beautiful descriptions. In this way, say everywhere banyan tree descriptions are given, but where Lord Shiva is sitting down and meditating, so no sounds. It's completely peace and very serene. So Lord Shiva was meditating. That's when Lord Brahma, all with the demigod, when Daksha Prajapati was being, so Lord Shiva became angry because of Daksha Prajapati. So he left. So then Lord Brahma, along with all the demigods, came to pacify Lord Shiva, came to this place where Lord Shiva was sitting down in Kailash under Banyan. In this way, there are so many, and then we'll also see Satyavan and Savitri, where Satyavan left his body at this banyan tree. Then Yamaraj comes, and because Savitri's great chastity, Yamaraj had to give back his husband. That is also another. So banyan tree has so many incidents tied to it. So now let's understand from these verses, especially the first verse is talking about, but main verse and the context here is the deep attachment, the deep roots. Banyan tree has so many roots, main root and subsidiary roots, as in this verse. Urdhamulam adasyaka swaddam prahuravyam chandamsiyasya parnana yastam veda saveda. And Kartik month is starting, so especially Purushottam month and Kartik month, chapter 15 should be read of Bhagavad Gita. So every day throughout the month, from October 9th Sunday to November 7th Tuesday, whole month we should read, other than reading Damodarashtakam, Chaurashtakam or Jagannathashtakam, but Damodarashtakam at least at a minimum while doing the Arati, and also this chapter 15 and reading Bhagavatam and serving, all these aspects. So very important. And then the glories of Padma Purana also talks about this chapter 15 glories, where one time one of the king ruled the whole world, conquered everywhere with one of the main chief officer. And then finally he made a plan to kill the king, and he wants to become the emperor. Then he was taken away by the Yamapatas. Then he is born as a horse. So that time the king, that horse was so beautiful, and then people brought the horse and gave a gift to this king. Then the king went on the horse for a forest. Finally goes deep into forest. Then they arrived at a lake, and then they found a leaflet with a leaflet very close to the ashram. There they are writing Bhagavad Gita on these leaflets. So then they found this 15 chapter verses. So the horse was there. Then horse came back. Horse passed away, and then it came back. Actually appeared as a soul. It rolled back to the previous form. And then it went, Vishnu Dutas came in a plane, and then it went back. Then king was surprised and shocked to see what has happened. How did this happen? Then he followed the trail of that river, and then he went to the ashram and asked. Then these sages told, this is actually, we lost one leaf. This is chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita, so Purushottam Yoga. It's very, very, very auspicious. You also read. But why I didn't go? How come he went back to Vaikuntha, but I didn't go? Because you are not paying attention. You didn't pay any attention of the verse or reading. And so you are so much attached to others. So that's why you didn't go. So then he also read and went back. Those are the glories of chapter 15. Many other could be there, but this is from Padma Purana. So now coming back to this Aswatha Vruksha, where it is explained, Prabhupada is explaining how this Aswatha Vruksha means Lord Brahma. So the original, the root of the tree is in the from Satyaloka, Lord Brahma, one of the main root of the tree. And first sprout from this tree is Mahatattva. Mahatattva is the first root, first sprout. And this is coming from Pradhan, by Mahavishnu impregnating the seed of Pradhan. Then this Mahatattva is coming as first sprout. From that first, one of the root of the tree of the material world is composed of Mahatattva, which is Lord Brahma, Satyaloka. And then the branches, various branches are downward, Atasyakam branches. The composed of Devas, Gandharvas, Kinnaras, Kimpurushas, cows and horses and insects and worms and human beings and moths and birds and beasts. So this Aswatha Vruksha is representing basically one fulfilling one's goals of the fruits are Dharma, Artha and Kama and Moksha. These are the fruits of the tree, results of living entities. Most of the living entities are engaged in this, looking for these fruits, not the Pancham Purushartha. The actual real thing is, Paramartha is to attain Krishna Prema, which is Pancham Purushartha, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us. And then we see that Chandamsi, the leaves of the tree, just like the leaves of the tree become very attractive. So that is compared with the Vedas, the first Chandamsi, that's it, the leaves of the tree. So that is expanding the bondage of this material world. We get allured because the tips of the branches, the twigs, the branches, and then the branches has twigs, and twigs has tips. So the branches spreads down in the form of human beings and animals and higher living and like demigods. This is nourished by three gunas, three modes of material nature, depending on how much, to the degree, based on the degree of consciousness, whether it's goodness, passion, accordingly different branches, different planetary systems and different planets and different living entities are being sitting on this tree, on these various branches. That means various countries and continents and various planets. And the sense objects are the twigs represent sense objects, the sound, touch, taste, form, smell. And the tips of these branches are senses, the ears, the nose, the eyes, the tongue, and the skin. And there are subsidiary roots. As I mentioned, main root is in the Satyaloka. And then the subsidiary roots are the attachments and aversions, the piety and the impiety. Secondary roots is also called. So that is spread everywhere throughout this Brahmanda. So below Brahmaloka, Anusantatani. So where will you see this tree? The tree is upward, the roots are upward and branches are downwards. Where you can see this tree is, when we go to the reservoir of water, a river or lake, you'll see that the roots upward and branches downward. And Prabhupada gives an example, like if somebody puts a person opposite, his legs are up and his head is down, how long can you stay? You will be suffocating. You will not be able to stay much longer. It's not comfortable. Same way, this material world is a perverted reflection. Just like you are seeing this tree as a reflection in the water. So So with this perverted reflection of this material world is temporary. It is not comfortable position. But we are thinking it is comfortable, and we are thinking we are getting the happiness. So that's why, because of this attachment and aversions. And so then where is this reflection is situated? Reflection is situated on the water. So, but for the living entity, reflection is situated on the desire. So desire is the biggest problem. So desire is the cause of the things being situated in the reflection of material tree. So trees are nourished by water. So this living entity, the jivas, nourished by three modes. In essence, basically, in conclusion, branches are nothing but bodies, the living entities, bodies, jiva taking bodies. And branches have tips, which is nothing but senses. And tips has shoots, nothing but sense objects. Nothing than then, which are sources of enjoyment, raga or color. New leaves give color. In this way, this analogy, metaphor of this tree, especially the banyan tree, because of the deep rooted, and then we also hear the example of this cobbler sitting on banyan tree of Narada coming down and asking, said, if a fig has so many, is a small fruit, and so many seeds are there, so it's not a big deal for Lord Narayan if he could invest so much parasya shakti vividaya sruvite swabhavike jnana pilakriya. So if we can invest this so much energy into small teeny seed, bijo what is it? Am bija pradapita, bijo ham sarva bhutana. Krishna is speaking. I am the seed giving father. I am the seed of everything what you see, because everything is coming. The four ways, Udbija, Andaja, Svedaja, like that. So the human is, but everything there is a type of a seed. So well, as well the Vraksha or a human being, but it is through a seed. So that's why we have to be careful of how to transform these desires. So what we are supposed to do, that's why Krishna is giving the first detachment from the material world. The answer of this verse, continuation of this verse, how we can, what is the path to come to as tata parimargitavya, searching for that path. What is that path? What we are supposed to do to detach, take an axe, as in Parikshit, not Parikshit, Kapil Dev. The Devahuti is asking Kapil Dev to cut this deep attachment she has, samsara taro kutaram. So this tree of this great attachments of the desires, unwanted things are there. Please cut this tree roots by axe, by weapon. What is that weapon? First thing is, one must have Shastra Shraddha. If there is no Shastra Shraddha, one have a Laukika Shraddha. When living, especially those who are sadhakas in the beginning stages, they have Laukika Shraddha. They don't have Shastra Shraddha. Where Srimad Bhagavatam calls this out. Sarva Vedanta Saramihi Sri Bhagavatam Ishyate Tad Rasamrata Triptasya Na Anyatra Syad Rati Kvachit. Srimad Bhagavatam is declared to be the essence of Vedanta philosophy. So Vedas, Upanishad, Puranas, everything, the essence of everything, the Pancham Purushartha, Krishna Prema is being given. The essence of Vedas, Vedanta is in Srimad Bhagavatam. So one who has inclined to study everything, especially Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita regularly under the association of devotees, Sadhu Sangha Sato Vrute. So especially Snigdha, one who is very much advanced in Krishna consciousness, so one must be also in their association, one must hear. So otherwise, generally, Kanishta Adhikara Laukik Siddha, which means you will be having faith on materialistic ideas, materialistic persons, then you want to hear from anybody and everybody. You will see nice flowery language they may talk about, or they may so many things in this internet world. Or scientist, you may have attachment, and you may have attachment to the philosopher. You don't believe in Shastra. You still have a very minimal faith on the sadhu and shastra and guru. So that's what we have to, first thing we have to cultivate. That can be only cultivated when you associate with devotees. That's why when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Kulina Gram, There they asked, who is a Vaishnava? How to develop? Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again and again mentioned, you should serve a Vaishnava who is advanced in Krishna consciousness. Prabhu kahena Krishna seva Vaishnava sevana nirantara karena Krishna nama sankirtan. You should serve a Vaishnava, thereby Krishna will be worshipped, and always do Krishna sankirtan. Otherwise it's very, very difficult. And one must be very merciful. Another thing is, how will you satisfy the Supreme Lord? Daya sarva bhuteshu santushtaya yena kenava sarva indriya upasartya cha tushyati asu janardana. By showing mercy to all living entities, being satisfied somehow or the other, and restricting the senses from sense enjoyment, then one can very quickly satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardana. That means, so otherwise you will be, the pride is the biggest. That's why in the 5th verse, Krishna is answering that. How we can detach is, first and foremost, you have to surrender. But how will you surrender? One who has a pride, too much false pride, then he cannot surrender. That is the first and foremost qualification is mentioned in the verse number 5. Nirmana moha. The pride is causing illusion, or illusion by pride. Either way you look at it. Nirmana moha, jata sanga dosha, and the faulty association. Vinivritta kama, giving up the unwanted desires. So that's why the Prabhupada is mentioning, one must be trained as Brahmanas from the very beginning. So the word Danta, Brahmachari Gurukule Vasam Danta Guru Hitam. Danta is very important. Prabhupada. Danta refers to one who is not envious. Then you can show mercy. So you'll be equal to all when you are not envious. Not envious and disturbing or puffed up with false prestige. So this is a very important quality one must develop. So and that's when Nanda Maharaj, when he worshipped the Brahmanas, when he invited the Brahmanas for this Govardhan Puja, there he gives the qualification. Whom did he call? He called those Brahmanas who are free from envy and who are not untruthful, who are truthful. There is no unnecessary pride. There is no grudges. They don't have disturbance by opulence of others or false prestige. So in this way, he called those Brahmanas who are truthful, who are non-envious, who doesn't have pride, doesn't have grudges, no other disturbances. So in this way, he called those Brahmanas. So then only, then he knows exactly how to perform the devotional service, how to execute devotional service. So further you will see, one must, how can we come out of this? One is the anarthas, the weakness in the heart. Why somebody is attached to allurements, attracted by allurement? Because of the weakness of the heart. So these weaknesses rise to 6 enemies and 6 waves. So one who does not give up this anartha, the creeper of bhakti will not grow at all. First is attachment to the insignificant things, duplicity, envy, violence to others, and desire for fame. So these 4 things, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also, out of many anarthas, one anartha is weakness of the heart. As Arjuna mentioned, Hridaya Daurbalyam. In that weakness of the heart, these 4 categories are there under the weakness of the heart. So unless we give up this envy to any living entity, in the 64 item that is there also, one must not envy to any living entity, do any harm to any living entity. Forget about devotees. So duplicity and desire for fame and attachment to the insignificant thing. So this is a important aspect one must remove, and then only we can progress in devotion service. Further, Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions one should, what is that? So the Shastra Shraddha one must have. Then also, so one must look at, so this heart is compared like a pot, container. The container must be constituent, so that's why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given these 4 things. One must, this heart, like a pot, container, must contain this Trinadapi Sunuchena Taroriva Saishna Amanina Mahadaya Kirtaniya Sada. These 4 things. Always chant the holy name of the Lord, and then give respect to others, don't expect respect, and then tolerate So Trinadapi, Sunichena, Taroriva, Sayishna, humble, humility, like a tree. So these are the four aspects, the constituents of the spot, that pot of the heart. And these all these anarthas are like holes. So how will you attain Krishna Prema? Whatever you pour it in, it's going away, leaking from the pot. So that's why in order to hold, we have to remove these unwanted things, which can only happen by the sadhu sangha. Tulyama lave na pina swargam na apunar bhavam bhavat sangi sangasya martyanam kim utasisha. Even moments association with the pure devotee cannot be compared to being transferred to heavenly planets or even merging into Brahmana plans in complete liberation. For living entities who are destined to give up the body and die, association with pure devotee is the highest. So you can understand. So that's why it is very important to associate with devotees and engage in the service of the Lord. Now, there's the main aspects. Now, let's look at the Aswatha Vriksha as I mentioned before. Also, we'll see that Prachetas. So, if you don't have seed, especially those who are in Grahastha Ashram, the attachments are very, very strong. Very, very strong. That is nature. Because we have been given some more. We have been given luxury. You can enjoy more than the others. Not brahmachari cannot do, sannyasi cannot do, vanaprastha cannot do, but grahastha can enjoy. That facility is given. So that's why attachment is also more. So that's why the prachetas are being given instruction by Lord Shiva before already. How to execute devotion service. Prachetas have been sent by Prachina Bari, go and perform austerity. They came, they were performing austerity, and then Lord Shiva, seeing their together, all the 14 brothers or so, they're all together nicely engaging that. Then Lord Shiva came out from that water lake, and then he gave Rudra Gita, it is called. He gave the instruction how to worship the Lord and how to engage in devotion service. And then later on, the Lord also appeared. Then he told them they got married. Then they forgot actually the actual process what Lord Shiva has given, because that is the nature of this especially grahastha business. Unless we are really serious and consistent in our sadhana and service and worship of the Lord and chanting and worshipping Tulsi Mara and all these aspects and association of devotees. Then Narada Muni, by the mercy of the Lord, Narada Muni again comes in. There they are talking about Tanna Pratya Udyata Adhyatma Jnanam Tatvartha Darshanam. Please give us the transcendental knowledge. We forgot what has been given by Lord Shiva. Please reveal the actual Tattva, Tatvartha Darshanam. Enanjasa Tariyamo Dustaram Bhavasagara. Only by your mercy, you are a pure devotee of the Lord, by your mercy, very quickly, we can cross over this Bhavasagara, this tree or ocean of this material world. Otherwise, there is no possibility of this crossing over this material world. Now, let's look at the 15th chapter, Glories. Beautiful descriptions are there. 1 minute, let me read that. Where is that? Yeah. In the 10th canto, this has been given 10, 18, 22. Vahanto vahyamanascha charayantascha godhanam vandirakam nama vatam jagmo Krishna purogama. Thus carrying and being carried by one another, and at the same time tending the cows, the boys followed by Krishna to a banyan tree known as Bandiraka. Sri Sanatana Goswami quotes the following verses from Sri Harivamsa Vishnu Puran 11.18 to 22, which describe the banyan tree, quoting almost 5 verses. I'm just reading the translation in interest of time. They saw that the best of all trees, which had many long branches, with its dense covering of leaves, it resembles a cloud sitting on the earth. Indeed, its form was so large that it appeared like a mountain covering half the sky. Many birds with charming blue wings frequented that great tree, whose dense fruits and leaves made it seem like a cloud accompanied by a rainbow, or like a house decorated with creepers and flowers. It spread its broad roots downward and carried upon itself the sanctified clouds. That banyan tree was like the lordly master of all the other trees in that vicinity, as it performed the all auspicious functions of warding off the rain and the heat of the sun. Such was the appearance of the Negroda tree known as Bandira, which seemed just like the peak of a great mountain. This was the description given from the 10th canto, where Lord Krishna was playing with his cohort boys. And then how Lord Krishna left also has been given, 11:30:42. Tam tatra tigma dhilbir ayudair vrutam hi aswadda mule krata ketanam patim sneha plutatma nipapata padayo ratad avaplutya sabashpalochana. Upon seeing Lord Krishna resting at the foot of a banyan tree surrounded by its shining weapons, Daruka could not control the affection he felt in his heart. His eyes filled with tears as he rushed down from the chariot and fell at the Lord's feet. This is because of the curse Edu dynasty was destroyed. And then Lord Balrama also left. He disappeared. He left the planet. He left this material world. Then Lord Krishna is ready to leave, and then he was sitting under the banyan tree. And then Jara hunter releasing the arrow. So, and then Lord Krishna was about to leave. So Jara begs forgiveness, understanding that is Lord himself. He begs for forgiveness. That is Jara also. I think it was Bhrugu Muni, if I remember correctly, some other place I read. So then Daruka comes and was so much in distress by seeing Lord is leaving. But he gives, Daruka also will go back to the spiritual world, but he has some business to be done. He has to take the remaining people to Indraprastha. So because Dwarka is going to submerge in ocean. So that's what Lord Krishna instructs, and he has to go and tell others, take all of them to Indraprastha. Then he will go back after that. So that is the category. Now the another place where we see that Vamavru Adisritya Dakshinangri Saroroham Apasrita Arbakas Aswadam Makrasam Chakta Pipalam. The Lord was sitting, taking rest against Tang Banyan tree with his right lotus foot on his left thigh, as I mentioned. Although he had left all household comfort, he looked quite cheerful in that posture. Nice description is given by Prabhupada. So, according to Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the Lord sitting posture, keeping his back against the newly grown banyan tree, is also meaningful. Aswadha, the banyan tree, is so called because the tree does not die very quickly. It continues to live for many, many years. So that's why metaphor is used, because we also nobody wants to die, and everybody wants to enjoy in this material world. So that's why this metaphor is used. His legs and their energies are the material ingredients. Comparison is given here, which are 5 in all: earth, water, fire, air, and sky. The material energies represented by banyan tree are all products of his external potency and are therefore kept to his back. And because this particular universe is smallest of all, the banyan tree is therefore designated as small or as a child. Tekta Pippalam indicates that he had now finished his pastimes in this particular small universe. But since the Lord is absolute and eternally beautiful, blissful, there is no difference between his leaving and accepting something. So in this way, this being explained as well. Another place. This is a description of in Lord Shiva. Sayojana sato utseda padona vitapayata paryak krutachala chayo nirnidas tapa varjita. The banyan tree was 800 miles high. 800 miles high. You can imagine how big it is. And its branches spread over 600 miles around. Huge. The tree cast a fine shade which permanently cooled the temperature, yet there was no noise of birds. In generally, every tree there are birds' nests, and the birds congregate in the evening and create a noise. But it appears that this banyan tree was devoid of nests, and therefore it was calm, quiet, and peaceful. There were no disturbances from noise or heat, and therefore this place was just suitable for meditation. As I read these words, I remember Prabhupada past time. Prabhupada one time was walking with his disciples. Morning walk are full of instructions. Then one time he saw, Prabhupada saw the birds standing on one tree, and then they passed stool. Then he saw multiple of them. Then Prabhupada, what does it mean? Prabhupada disciples, they couldn't tell. Prabhupada told, this means even the birds are attached. The birds are sitting on the same tree. So same with this attachment is very, very strong. For a living entities also. So you can understand. So Prabhupada is signifying by seeing everything, Prabhupada is always thinking about how to bring others into, transform others into Krishna consciousness. So that's why they represent this, because of the attachment, the birds were attached to the sitting on one same tree again and again, day after day. So that is what it represents. The attachment is so strong. So yeah. I think, yeah, the last one I'll read from Markandeya and this thing. So beautiful description. In that vast sea, he again saw a banyan tree growing on a tiny island, and the infant boy lying within the leaf. The child glanced at him from the corner of his eyes with a smile imbued with the nectar of love. And Markandeya took him into his heart through his eyes. Greatly agitated, the sage ran to embrace the transcendental personality of Godhead. But Lord disappeared. That whole, whatever he's seeing, that universal annihilation, everything disappeared very quickly. So this was the description you'll see. So in the 12th chapter, 12th canto, 9th chapter. So yeah, with that, a lot more pastimes and other things are there, but we'll stop here. Already to 5. Any questions, comments? Reflections, please let me know. Thank you very much. Gandhara, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhaktan ki jai.
Yeah, thank you so much, Krishnamanda Prabhu. Very detailed class. Thank you so much. There is also a very auspicious day of appearance day of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami is Prayojana Acharya. It's very wonderful to know about. So, from a wealthiest family in that time, Raghunath Das Goswami, giving dandavats to 200. Dandavats to all of who are coming to the Vrindavan, and also pradakshina to the Govardhan, and so wonderful to know about these personalities. So thank you so much. And any questions? Anybody would like to add anything? Please open up, and we will also have a meeting. So please consider the timing as well. Please go ahead. Anybody would like to add anything? Any reflections?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah, nice class, Prabhu. Thank you for taking some time. Actually, it is out of box question, Prabhu. So, why we will not use kumkum in ISKCON? Usually, we use kumkum, right? So, that red color thing. So, just I have that doubt. So, can anyone clarify?
Yeah, so in a general understanding, each sampradaya has its own specific significance of using certain things, especially for Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Urdhva Punda Tilak, especially the two lines, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, standing on left and right lines on the top, where we use the Gopi Chandan Tilak especially, and not Radha Kund Tilak. Sometimes devotees use. It's not bad to use, but in general, it is not the etiquette to use that. We are not so elevated to use Radha Kund Tilak regularly every day. And then the middle space is Lord Vishnu resides, and then the Tulasi at the bottom. This is the specially signifying the Sambandha, Avideya, Prayojana, and how we must be always looking not for liberation, for actually to serve the Lord. So that is our Brahma Mahatma Gaudiya Sampradaya. In Ramanuja Sampradaya, then we have also Sri. Sri is coming. Lakshmi, they have a representation of that. So with the red color, you will see in the middle, in the top line in the middle also. So in some other Sampradaya also maybe there in that way. And then this is used for Sri Shakti, for energy of the Lord. This kumkum is used. And for ladies specifically, that is mandatory, those who are married especially. So that is the significance of that kumkum. But otherwise, just like even the mandara, we don't use. There are certain flowers to be offered to Lord Vishnu. You can offer other flowers to demigods, God, Lakshmi, and Lakshmi Devi and others. But it cannot be offered. Some of those flowers, like mandara or other flowers, we cannot offer to Lord Vishnu. We are supposed to offer lotus flowers or the lilies, mogra, and the other ones we use. What they call, I forget. Anything which has fragrance, but these specifically not especially red color. As red rose is fine, but other ones which are in the red color, like mandara, we don't offer. There are specific significances related to that. Certain things are used for certain aspects. And this is more of a culture thing. Just like we use while chanting, it must be covered always. Bag should be there, and the finger should come out. Sometimes I see devotees not having a bag, and Prabhupada told clearly, don't chant like this. Always keep your beads should be in the bag, because that's how. Because the beads shouldn't be, everything should be clean. It has to be covered. And they are the 108 gopis, and there are different understanding and significance of that. And then the finger, which is showing, always pointing out defects. So that shouldn't be. If you don't have a bag, how are you going to keep this finger out easily? You can't. So that's why that is another way why the bag is there, where you can put the finger out. And the middle finger is the only one which, with that and the thumb, we pull down the each and every bead very sensitively, slowly, without shaking the beads while chanting. So that middle finger is the one which we take for tilak. Any tilak, whether it's even kumkum, you should use only that middle finger, not the thumb finger, not the index finger, not any other finger. So it has its specific significance. How you take tirtha also, there's a specific significance is there, because one is to offer oblations, forefathers related, one is to take tirtha. So all these aspects are there. So that's why we follow that instructions of the Shastra to actually attain, because sadhu marganugamanam, Shastra, following Shastra is very important. As Bhagavad Gita says, yes, Shastra vidhim ustrijya vartate kama karna siddhim navapnoti nalabhate param. We don't follow sadhu and Shastra and Guru, then there is no benefit in this life or the next life. So that is clearly been given by Lord Krishna. So that's why we have to follow. Hope that clears to some extent. I will see more details on usage of kumkum and let you know another time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhu. Yeah, thank you.